we are here with legendary drops talking about this game is the industry. This is the game the industry refuses to make. The thumbnail looked like it was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, so I am here for that. I'm excited. I haven't played it yet, and I'm stoked to finally play it. It's either going to be next month or the month after because South of Midnight and Expedition 33 come out next month, and they're going to be on Game Pass. So we're going to bang them all out in 1 month.
Idea of what games should be. See, because I have the self-awareness to realize that I spend more time criticizing games and the industry than I do celebrating it. And that's not because I don't love games. I love games. It's what I talk about.
We all love games. That's why we're here.
It's because the industry, by and large, does not live up to my expectations. They're not doing what I know they're capable of, what you know they're capable of, what everybody knows they're capable of. See, because I think all of us, regardless of age or experience, are holding on to the idea of a dream game, quietly hoping every next release is going to be that game. And it rarely ever happens. And that's not because there's a lack of talent in the...
What would my dream game be? I feel like it would be an open world game for sure. RPG. I don't know. Maybe. Okay, possibly a remaster to Pokemon Coliseum and XD Gala Darkness tied together. Let's see. Final Fantasy X 10-2 remake, although that would be a lot of games between them, very long games. And honestly, the platinum would probably kill me, and that's how I would die. Pokemon Gen 2 remake, like full HD and all that stuff, not the previous remake that we got that is so old that it's in the DS era, so it's very out of date. Let's see. Well, those would be the best ones, but also an open world RPG I feel like would be the best one for me because I would spend so much time in that. Also, the Pokemon games and Final, yeah, those would be my top 4. I don't know specifically what an open world RPG. I would have to think about that. That's a long think because I would have to think about every open world RPG that I've played and try to decide which mechanics I wanted and which ones I didn't want. But I feel like those would be the top 4.
The industry. It's not because there's a lack of resources, imagination, and we sure as hell know that it's not for a lack of money. It's because there are too many studios that are out there that are focused on the outcomes rather than the experience. And if you're only thinking about what your work can lead to rather than the work itself, how are you going to make a good video game? Recently, I played Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 back to back.
Bless your heart, sir. I assume you had an amazing time.
And without exaggerating, this is one of the greatest gaming experiences I've ever had. I recommend it to everybody. This for RPG fans.
I am 155 hours into Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I'm not done with it. Hold on. Let me pull it up and check. Stop looking at my friends. Nothing gives you that right. Let's see. Kingdom Come Deliverance. 160 hours. Sorry. And I'm not done with it.
Is one of those rare moments of an evolution within a genre that we just do not see reflected anywhere else in the industry. It's the dream game that many of us have been hoping for. And it's a game that the rest of the industry refuses to make. Not because it's too risky, but because it's too real. This isn't a wake-up call. We're past that.
It's because it's too hard, and they don't want to do work.
No. This is
work
simply
is
what games
hard.
should be. So today what I want to do is I want to walk you guys through an experience and share with you what makes a game special, but more than anything, I want to talk about what we've lost. But you know, you should lose that chair with today's sponsor. This is the worst transition I've ever done. A bad chair can make hours at a desk unbearable. Poor posture, back pain, and general discomfort will all add up over time.
Okay,
Whether
so
it's work,
it's
gaming,
this
or editing,
long?
a sturdy and ergonomic chair makes all the difference.
Sorry, dude. It's like a minute
Just a
long.
heads up, this video
Calm
does
down.
contain spoilers for KCD1 and KCD2.
Calm down.
I think it's important to recognize that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 isn't the product of some multi-billion
You need
dollar
to
publisher or
relax,
studio
buddy.
with thousands of developers spread across multiple continents. It was made by Warhorse Studio, a mid-sized team based in Czech Republic. They're not working with the same kind of budgets that Ubisoft or EA throw around. They made the game for a measly $36 million.
Yeah, 36 million? That's insane for this amazing game. Like the graphics, the dialogue, all the options that can lead to different dialogue that you may never even see in your playthrough. That's nuts. All the detail they put into this game, all the love they put into this game for that little amount of money.
They don't have the marketing machine of CD Projekt Red or the global reach of Rockstar, and yet they delivered a game that doesn't just compete with the biggest RPGs in the market, it flat out outclasses them in areas that matter the most. Depth, immersion, consistency, and above all, heart. There's no cynical monetization model here, no content bloat to inflate playtime, no focused, tested design to make sure it appeals to everyone. Warhorse committed to a vision, something historical, grounded, brutally unforgiving, and full of life. It's not that they just made a great RPG, it's that they made this RPG. Under the constraints that would break most teams, limited budget, a small dev team, a niche historical setting with no fantasy flair, a refusal to compromise their design for mass appeal, and they still managed to push the genre forward in a way that many AAA
Yeah, this game is not for everybody. I can tell you that right now. If you don't like micromanaging or realism in your fantasy, this is not for you, man. Because there's hunger to deal with, there's thirst to deal with, and you can't have too much of either one of them, or otherwise you get debuffed. And you can't have too little of either one of them, otherwise you get debuffed. And there's also like bleeding that you need to stop, otherwise you will die. You will bleed to death in this game. There's no like it goes away or you just take a potion. No, you actually have to like bandage yourself up, and it might not even finish. It might not even like fix the bleeding if the bandage isn't like high enough level. I feel like it is. I don't know about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but like this game is rough, man. It's hardcore.
Studios haven't dared to in years. I don't think that I'm alone when I say that most modern RPGs don't live up to the experience that we're looking for. The mechanics that we associate with the genre, experience points, leveling, passive perks, character building, loot, classes, they've all become fluff rather than the foundational systems that are necessary for these games to give us what we want. They're there, sure, but they really mean anything anymore. They're just there to give you the illusion of progress more than anything else. Recently, I criticized Assassin's Creed Shadows for exactly this. It's the perfect example. The loot, the skill trees, the levels, they don't change how you experience the game. The enemies might have a bigger number next to their name, your character might get fancier gear, but nothing actually feels different. You play the game the same way that you would at hour 1, that you would at hour 60. It's all smoke and mirrors. Let's be honest, most
sounds
RPGs
boring.
today are just thinly veiled power fantasies more than anything else. You're the destined hero with a prophecy stapled to your forehead.
Let's be clear, there's nothing wrong with a power fantasy. That's part of why we play the games. We want the fantasy. The problem is, if it's thinly veiled, you're not immersed in it, and there's no fantasy.
The world bends to you, not because you earned it, but because the script says so. There's no real arc to your character's growth, no tangible evolution in how your character interacts with the world. You're powerful because the game says you are. Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't just understand what an RPG is supposed to be, it commits to it.
In Kingdom Come Deliverance, you earn that fantasy. If you feel powerful, it's because you freaking earned it, man.
It captures the soul of the genre both narratively and mechanically. You are Henry, son of a blacksmith, no combat training outside of the occasional tavern scrap, no knowledge of the world outside of your village, no real skills outside of the chores that you did at home. Your life was simple, and then it wasn't. You were thrust into life-altering events, and you have nothing to your name, no money, no power, no direction, and everything you do from that point on, you earn. Most RPGs put you on rails.
Amen
The
to
ones market
that.
Themselves as open world games are afraid to let go of your hand. They scale enemy levels. They lock off progression areas because you're
This doesn't hold your hand. It tries to chop your hand off and say, do it with one hand. Not in that way. Stop it.
not ready for it yet. They do everything they can to make sure that you have a smooth and painless ride because they don't respect their audience. They don't trust their audience. They think players want to feel like a hero right out of the gate. Kingdom Come does not give a damn about that. The entire world is out of your league. You're not the chosen one. You're not special. You're a nobody. And the game treats you like one.
The whole freaking game treats you like that. Trust me. It's everyone and everything in this game is kicking dirt in your face.
Start, you can't just grab a sword and run off killing bandits. You can't just stroll into towns, loot houses, murder NPCs, and cheese your way through systems. I mean, you can at some point, but you still have to earn the right to be able to do those things. You're going to barely survive running away from a pack of wolves. You're going to get killed by a lone bandit on the road. You're going to steal food because you're...
Those wolves will chase you down and kill you because they're faster than you. So they'll catch up to you and they'll bite you and it will stop you from running away because they're clinging to you with their teeth, and it makes sense.
Starving. You'll sneak into a barn and sleep on some hay just to be able to survive the night. And then you're probably going to get arrested for doing all those things, which is only going to make things worse. But through those failures, those very human, messy, and frustrating failures, you'll grow. Kingdom Come adopts the Bethesda-esque learning by doing system. Every step you take, every lock you pick, every sword you swing, every injury you take, it all is building your...
Which is a great system, and it's unfortunate that Bethesda can't even use that as well now, because they can't seem to make their games good or interesting.
Skills. But it goes deeper than that because of how brutal 15th century Bohemia is and how green Henry is as a character. You are going to grow alongside him. The learning here isn't abstract, it's personal. When you're brewing potions, you're not just pressing a button and watching a bar fill. You're not instantly crafting items off of a crafting table or vendor. You're pouring the water, you're grinding the herbs, you're boiling the ingredients, timing everything to make sure you don't ruin the batch. You're collecting fresh herbs to make sure, because quality matters. You're not just crafting for a bonus, you're crafting to survive. Combat is totally unforgiving. You need to memorize combos, time
Amen to
parries,
that.
blocks, and
Dude, if you could figure out stealth... Man, I could not get a hang of that combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance 1. I'm 160 hours in, and I still don't understand the combat. I do stealth and speech the whole way.
not just perfectly. You have to think about the strengths and
In Bethesda games, stealth and speech is broken because you don't need it. It's just super OP. In this game, I need it. I need to do it. I cannot figure out how to do the fighting.
weaknesses of the weapon type that you're using versus the enemy that's in front of you. You have to think about where you're the most protected and where the enemy is the least protected. If their wrists are exposed, go for those. If they're wearing a helmet or they're not wearing a helmet, then go for the eyes. I still remember the first time sword fighting clicked. I wasn't flailing, I wasn't panicking, I was in control. I was reading my opponent, managing my stamina, landing counters, not perfectly, but confidently to say the least. And it wasn't because my stats had gone up, it was because I had grown as a player. Hours of sparring with sword masters, trial and error, and losing duels, licking my wounds. It all led to this one sword fight where I finally felt like a swordsman. That's what an an RPG is supposed to feel like. And that same philosophy extends to every part of the game. Passive skills aren't
Ranger
flashy
Rod.
finishers and game-breaking perks. They're subtle enhancements that require you to capitalize on them. Sure, you can unlock a trait that gives you an attack bonus when you're outnumbered, but you still have to parry, dodge, and swing with precision. An alchemy perk might give you slightly better yields, but you still have to
Or
physically
pick
craft
them
those
off from a
potions.
distance
It's not
with a
numbers
poison
roll-up
arrow.
system. It's a player get better system, and it's phenomenal. I love that everything I do matters. I love that every action ripples throughout the entire game, not just through dialogue choices or morality sliders, but through tiny, persistent systems that all interlock beautifully together. At one point, I was investigating a murder. I needed to infiltrate a suspect's home. I had convinced the guard I was a healer. Now, how did I do that? Well, it's because I recited scripts from a medical text that I had read 15 hours earlier in my playthrough, a book that I had stolen on a completely unrelated quest, and I only found that book because I had the lockpicking skills to open that chest and the stealth to avoid any detection. That moment wasn't scripted. It was earned, organically, accidentally, and beautifully
That's
earned.
so cool.
Kingdom Come is abrasive. It doesn't care about coddling you because it wants to leave a mark. It wants to scar you. Every victory feels like the result of real effort. You begin your journey barely even able to find food or survive a wolf attack, and you end it by dueling master swordsmen, winning tournaments, going to war, and earning the respect of nobles. But no matter how many skill points you unlock, no matter what loot you carry, the real reward is what you've learned, what you've earned. You are what changes, not just the character sheet. It's that struggle that grounds you. It ties your sense of progression not to just numbers on a screen, but to a journey. It's one full of mistakes, setbacks, and tiny victories. That sense of immersion that doesn't come from beautiful graphics or formulaic design. It comes from knowing that you had to live through it to get where you are. Not many games can dial you in like this. Everything you do is with
Not
intent and
even
purpose, and then it
close.
cascades
Not
throughout the
these
entire
days.
game. Experience isn't just a number, it's a journey. And I realize not every single game needs to be like this. They can't be like this. If they were, then, well, gaming would be exhausting more than anything else. But the vast majority of the industry wouldn't even try to do any of these things. It would never deign upon them to try to do any of these things because they're so afraid they would limit the size of their audience. So they take something that should be an immersive experience.
Yeah, the key is it doesn't matter what the limit is. It matters how hardcore that audience is going to be for you, because they are willing to go above and beyond for a game that blows them away.
And they streamline it to suit a modern audience, a broader audience. That sucks.
Do you need a free
He
and
just
easy
thumb
way
his
to
nose at
capture
us,
your gameplay?
and it went
Introducing Outplayed.
to an
Record
ad.
anything on your PC.
Simple as that. That sucks. I have limited time and limited money, and I want games that I'll remember. I want games that are going to leave a mark on me. I want games that I'm going to want to come back to. This industry is so obsessed with throwaway experiences, consumable games, hundreds of hours of nothing you'll ever remember. I hate it. You know, I hated Kingdom Come Deliverance when I first started playing it. I hated being weak. I hated struggling.
Makes
I hated
sense.
getting caught trying to steal when I was trying to make my...
Honestly, that's the Kingdom Come Deliverance path. You hate it because everything is so hard, but that's what makes earning it. It's kind of like the Dark Souls. Like it's tough until you get the hang of it, and then it's not that tough anymore. And then sometimes you can just one shot a boss if you know what the pattern is. I mean, you can look it up online, but no matter what you look up online for Kingdom Come Deliverance, you still have to learn it. Because I was having a good time at the beginning before I had to fight anything, and then after I had to fight something, I wasn't having a good time and I was not enjoying that game. But I eventually found my way and figured out what I needed to do and what I was best at so that I did not get murdered every time I met someone.
way up the ladder, trying to get some better gear or something like that, just a couple grosh in here or there, and ultimately selling the things that I stole in the same city that I stole them in, which is probably not the best idea for me to do.
It was
I realize
not
the game-
because you'll get less money or they won't try accept it at all because they'll recognize it as stolen from that city.
that reactive, that they would know that, yeah, hey, we know whose shit that is.
Yeah.
But I almost quit. The game almost filtered me, but the longer I stuck with it, the more I realized what it was trying to do. It was trying to set me on a journey. And the minute that I realized that, the minute that I realized this is exactly what I was hoping games could become, it brought back that old feeling of what games could be or what they should be. And what's wild is,
Granted, if you're interested in playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, maybe start with 2. 2 is a little easier to get into, and it learns its lesson from some things it didn't do in the first one. So play the second one, and if you like it that much, then play the first one.
is that same sense of slow, earned progression throughout the entire game is then reflected directly onto the game's world, its characters, and its narrative. They didn't just make the mechanics, realize they nailed it, and phone the rest home like we've seen more times than I can count at this point. No, they made sure that that philosophy was in the entire game from start to finish, and it's beautiful. And you know what's even more beautiful? This game doesn't include the one thing that I hate the
Is
most.
it me?
Modern writing.
Am
One of
I
the most common
beautiful?
criticisms that I've had for modern
Oh.
games is how restricted and artificial the writing feels. It's just not
Sorry,
real. The
gotta get rid of
dialogue
this.
feels like it's been filtered through social media or HR. Like they're trying to tie their game to a trend rather than build a believable world. And when the writers do try to tackle bigger themes, they usually inject modern social commentary into places where it just doesn't belong. Take Dragon Age the Veilguard as an example.
Oh my
That
God,
game
this one
felt like
again.
a socially awkward millennial isekai titled I'm a loser in another world surrounded by other losers and a whiny lizard person. The dialogue constantly leaned on modern slang and surface level social issues in a setting that already had rich established lore. It felt completely fake. It didn't matter what world I was supposed to be in because every conversation just yanked me right back to my own. Talent, tone, nuance, social awareness, these things are dying in modern game narratives today. Characters don't feel real anymore because the people
that's an
that are writing them
understatement,
don't know
honestly.
how to connect with real people. Years of living in online echo chambers have warped how some of these writers think people actually talk to one another, and it shows. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 have some of the strongest writing that I've ever experienced in any RPG, right up there with Baldur's Gate 3, and honestly, in some ways, it's even stronger. What makes it stand out isn't the historical accuracy or the period-specific dialogue, it's the fact that the game just feels completely unafraid to be itself. There's no pressure to modernize the language or
It
insert
knows what it is, and it goes full force into it. And I love that in the game.
modern ideologies. It's raw, grounded, and entirely unfiltered. Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 feel like they're from another era, not just in setting, but in spirit. And that's the biggest revelation I had when I was playing these games, is that most modern writing and language just doesn't feel honest. And in games, language is everything. And I think a lot of writers have lost sight of that. It's how we understand characters. It's what makes a world feel alive instead of generic. Get the language wrong, and the whole thing falls apart. From my perspective, language is the bridge between the player and the world. It's how we're invited in, or how we're kept at arm's length. When it's done right, it draws you in closer, makes you believe in the characters that you're talking to, makes you feel like you're a part of their world. But when it's clumsy, or out of place, or hollow, it just becomes a barrier. Suddenly, you're no longer talking to a tavern owner in 15th century Bohemia. You're listening to a modern day writer tell you what to think. It breaks the illusion. The spell is
Dude, that would have ruined this game entirely. If I got to a town and I'm like, ugh, I need to eat some bread before I die in this game of hunger, and I need to find some lady to sleep with me so I can refill my health and save my game without using a potion, I would have been out of this game if someone started talking about, I need to make sure I respect all people and genders.
gone. Great writing doesn't just come from conveying
It's
information.
it's
sets
medieval
the tone,
times. I don't need to
culture,
respect
defines
nothing.
relationships, and it gives a voice to people who don't even have a backstory, and it makes them feel real. When Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 opens up, Henry and Hans are galloping through the countryside, cracking jokes, taking jabs at one another, excited to be striking out on their own. It's the kind of scene that just works, not because it's flashy or dramatic, but because it feels like it's two people who actually know each other. The inside jokes, the camaraderie.
Oh yeah, they built that. It was natural in the first game. They earned this friendship in the second game.
All there. It feels familiar, not because of the journey that you shared, but because you could easily see this reflected in the friendships you personally have. You don't get that kind of authenticity when your idea of relatable is just tossing out the occasional shit or damn for shock value. See, kids, we use curse words just like in
Poop.
real life.
It's
I stepped into his
poop,
farm with
guys.
Sir Hans without
He's
equipping a
poop.
sword, and he said, "What do you think we're gonna do? Fight with our cocks?" I was dying when I heard that. It sounded exactly like some goofy quip that I would hear at the bar with my friends, and it stuck with me. Later on, I went on a quest to hunt a serial killer. Catherine delivers one of the best pieces of voice acting and motion capture I've ever seen in a video game.
I have to talk to him about our wedding. I won't be left alone with his child.
What are you screeching about, you ninny? There's no handle here. Certainly not for the likes of you.
Do you hear that, folks? He fucks me from all sides. Get me with child, and now he doesn't want to know me.
Disgrace! You're too old for him. Nobody will believe your lies.
Old am I? He came to me himself because he wanted a mature woman to breed with. And he never even pulled it out.
Oh,
Why
What?
is everybody putting
Hold
these
on.
ads like it's 2010?
things got juicy. I think we are in
This Chrome extension takes 5 seconds to set up, and it
drama.
And he filled me up like a wineskin.
This kind of dialogue, this mix of grit, wit, and personality, it's all but gone in modern games.
Dude,
It's too
that
hard
is
to feel
such good
human
delivery.
More than anything else, and it makes you realize just how rare it is to see people in games talking like people again. Not some corporate-approved safe version of people, not some sanitized, inoffensive version, just real, flawed, grounded characters saying things that make sense for them in their world. That honesty goes beyond the dialogue, by the way. It lives in the characters themselves. NPCs speak broken English. Foreign characters mix in German, French, and other languages into their speech. It adds this extra layer of immersion that most games wouldn't even try to deliver. When I talk to Menhard as an example, I feel like I'm actually talking to a German. The more I speak with him, the more I understand his speech patterns, and I don't need subtitles or exposition dumps. I just learn through talking, and that's what makes Kingdom Come Deliverance so special, because you just want to keep talking to people. I spent hours wandering around chatting with villagers, merchants, and random NPCs because they all just felt so human. They weren't just quest givers or lore dispensers. They were people with lives.
Yeah, it feels like this, like the second game, like took the first game and dialed it up several notches. Like we're going all in to make this as much as possible.
Stories and personalities, and that's what a good RPG should
Like,
aim
we
for.
found
When
success,
conversations are
we're
written
gonna
this
keep
well,
that train
you don't
going.
need forced morality systems or a flashy dialogue wheel. You just talk, listen, and well, you start to care. While doing a quest for the miller, I needed to go out and get my hands on some saltpeter, and he told me to go and trick the gravedigger into giving me access to the mass grave. Seems simple
Okay.
enough, but when I actually went and
He
spoke,
picked what profession did he pick? He just said he picked it.
simple enough, but when I actually went and spoke to the grave, you start to care and get my hands on some saltpeter, and he told me to go and trick, and well, you start to care. While doing a quest for the miller, I needed to go out and get my hands on some saltpeter.
Yeah, there, from what I see, you can do this. This is to get into the wedding, and like whatever professions you end up picking is different quests to get into the wedding. I don't know if you can do all of them, but I watched Angry Joe play this part, and he was a blacksmith, completely different. And he said that one of the, I can't remember if it was other Joe or Alex, but they were whatever this is. I think it might have been alchemy or something like that. I don't remember. But he said that whatever profession they picked, they did this where they were hanging out with the grave digger. And I'm like, oh my God, there's like so many different ways you can get. And like just going to get your horse, you could pay for it, you could steal it, you could barter with the guy, you could do a quest for him to haggle him down, or even get it for free. You could just kill the guy, and then you get the horse and his money. But you don't. I don't think the horse technically belongs to you if you do it that way. But you get like a bunch of money from him.
Peter, and he told me to go and trick the gravedigger into giving me access to the mass grave. Seems simple enough, but when I actually went and spoke to the gravedigger, heard his story, asked why he did what he did, learned about his job and his life, he wasn't just some generic NPC. He was just a decent old guy trying to do his part, trying to do right by the dead. I didn't have it in me to lie to the guy, so I just told him the truth, and he agreed to help me anyway. It's wild that I even had this kind of reaction during a side quest, but that's the level of care that Warhorse puts into their writing. You can spend just as much time talking to a grieving widow or a random guy on the road as you could fighting in a tournament. Every interaction matters. Every side quest feels like it has the same care and weight as a main quest. You're never just going to do a task. You're living someone else's moment. I remember one night I was wandering around Kuttenberg, and a drunk NPC hailed me over. I figured it was just some throwaway line or maybe a side quest, but no, he just wanted to tell me about the birth of his first child. That was it. He was happy. We had a full conversation about fatherhood, about life. No reward, no XP, just a man celebrating something beautiful.
Oh, that's
it's moments like
nice.
this that bring a game to life. It ties everything together. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and honestly, even the first
I
game.
see
are
he went the
stunningly beautiful
nerd
games.
route,
Fidelity
judging
is
by the
incredible.
glasses.
The performance is solid. The combat is deep and rewarding. The progression systems, all of it all works together. Some of the best I've ever seen, but without a world that feels real, those systems are just part of a machine. It becomes the difference between playing a game and experiencing one. There are too many games today that are using what I like to refer to as hello fellow kids language, and it's just falling flat with audiences. It's just not working. There's too many characters.
We've all been there. You guys played any of the Borderlands since 3? It's that language. Also, Saints Row reboot.
That are now being known for being cringe, there are
Veilguard.
characters that are known for being cool, and that tells you the direction of games over the last few years. When talking to a character, I don't want to experience a character and how you think people should talk. I want to experience how people actually talk. And I think with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's based on real events and real people, and in that, they want to make sure that that humanity is reflected in those characters, and they pull it off. But a lot of these companies are afraid to do anything like that because, well,
Well, the companies themselves aren't making the money. It's the developers who are making the money, and they're putting their faith in people who are not interested in making a good game. They're interested in making a game that pushes a message they want pushed. So, good luck to that.
it could be problematic. So they soft lock their language. You sacrifice a lot by doing that. I was thinking about it, and when I first started this channel, my language, my tone was very soft. I qualified everything I ever said to make sure nobody misunderstood me, and I wasn't offending anybody. And I realized just how inauthentic that was. It wasn't me. And the minute that I stopped doing it, and the minute that I just started being myself when I was making these videos, was the minute that my viewership skyrocketed more than anything else, because that's what people are looking for today more than anything. Simple as that. And I think we're getting away from that. It is
Easy peasy.
100% the product of social media.
Maybe
Because
they
there's
should
too many
watch this
people that are
video
saying
and
what they
like
think people want to
get a
hear
clue.
rather than what they actually think. And that works all fine and good for a post on Twitter. Doesn't work very well for a video game that you're supposed to sell, because it's kind of like a
I'm not paying $70 for a post on Twitter. That's why the video game was way more important.
tag on a new shirt. You're constantly feeling it. It's there, so you cut it out. But the difference is with a game that you need to engage with for hours and that you spent money on, well, you can't cut that out. You know, I think the biggest casualties of all this tone policing that we've seen isn't just how characters talk, it's how relationships are communicated in games. Just character relationships more than anything. How awkward romances are already, like, we see so many people showing off these like awkward romances, villains that you're not allowed to be able to relate to, friendships that don't make any sense.
Hey, you can't tell people who they are and aren't allowed to relate to. If you try and do that, people are going to start resenting you and your game. From what I understand, that was one of the problems they had with Joker, and that's why they made Joker 2, because they wanted to ruin that character. Because they didn't like that people actually liked the character, because it was well written and really well acted.
Alliances that don't feel earned in any way, but Kingdom Come Deliverance doesn't fall into that trap. They're not worried about being abrasive. If anything, they lean into it as hard as they possibly can, and that's why it works. In the first game, you meet Father Godwin, the parish priest of Auschwitz. You're there investigating a murder, but he can't help. He's bound by the secrecy of confession. Later, you end up running into him at a tavern. You have the option to share a drink. And as far as I know, you don't have to do this, but if you do, it spirals. You start playing dice, moving on to more drinks, then there's a tavern brawl, you're chasing women, ringing the church bell at midnight, and finally you're walking through fields butt naked with sheep at sunrise. It's hilarious. I haven't laughed this hard at a game in ages, and the best part is that it's completely believable. It doesn't feel like a quest.
And
it feels
optional.
like a night out with a friend that got wildly out of hand. While I haven't done this exact same thing, I've definitely done similar. This kind of sequence would never make it into most modern
I
games.
want to hear
Really
that
developers
story.
are terrified of the potential backlash over how a scene might depict women or men or just life in general. But the thing is, it's real, it's messy, it's stupid, it's human, and those are the kind of moments that will draw a player deeper into a story and deeper into its characters. It's going to make them feel as though they are creating a genuine bond with that world. Look at the relationship between Henry and Hans Capon. Hans can't stand you when you guys first meet, and you're not exactly a fan of his either, but you guys come from completely different worlds. Neither of you guys really understand one another, and when you're forced to spend time together and through a chain of random events later, well, that
Yeah, they're
animosity
not
slowly
always so buddy-buddy. They definitely go at each other quite a bit when things get tough, but they always come at together as besties. We're besties, baby!
turns into friendship. You realize how much you actually have in common. Before long, you're getting into trouble together, sharing laughs, risking your lives, and it's all earned. That's the part a lot of writers miss, that arc, that development. They wouldn't even think to write a relationship like that because, frankly, they've probably never experienced anything like it themselves. But as a customer, I have experienced something like that. One of my closest friends today started out as somebody that I barely got along with. We ran in the same circle, but we never really got to know each other. We never really talked to one another. One night, we both ended up in the middle of a party that turned into a pretty big fight. The cops were called. We bailed together, ducked down an alley, drove off in my car, freaked out, laughing, and just started talking to one another. Found out we both loved Diablo 2, started talking about World of Warcraft. The next thing I know, I'm turning on the radio. We find that we like the same music.
Warcraft
Not long after,
buddies.
we're laughing about how wrong our assumptions of each other were. After that, we were the best of friends, and that's why the Henry and Hans friendship resonates so much, because it's grounded, it's real, it's how relationships are actually formed. I think this
You
is
know,
exactly
doing
what's missing
stuff
from so many
together.
games that want to say something meaningful. Studios with a powerful message, but they don't understand how to reach people. They don't understand how people work. They wrap their stories in lofty ideals and carefully curated virtue, but they forget that people connect through shared experiences.
Is he like
not
spam
lectures.
kneeing
Too
him in
many
the
game narratives
face?
feel like they're written by a high school counselor. It's not immersive. It's invasive. It doesn't feel like a game. It feels like somebody's trying to infiltrate
Run
your
out of
hobby with a
stamina,
message
homie.
that they care more about than your experience. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doesn't do that. Its lessons hit harder because of how grounded everything else is. It's a story about war, about coming of age, about discovering yourself in the world. There was some backlash at launch. Some of it was genuine. A lot of it was manufactured more than anything else. And while I don't blame people for raising concerns, most of that discourse ignored the one thing that actually mattered. Execution. Not representation, not politics, just execution. People were worried about things like the humans no longer being the bad guys, and Musa and the gypsies or the Jewish quarter, and what that kind of inclusion meant. And I get it. People are wary, understandably so. They've been burned by studios that have disguised half-baked agendas as progressive storytelling, but that's
A
not
lot
what's
of them.
happening here.
A lot of
ACD1
them.
paints humans as monsters, savages, raiders from a far-off land who speak a foreign language, pillaging towns and murdering people without mercy. That's how you see them, because that's how your world sees them. And let's be honest, it's a video game. You never thought twice about it. They're the enemy. You kill the enemy. End of story. But in KCD2, they changed that. You meet a camp of humans who are kind, remorseful, and eager to share a drink. They open up. They talk about how ashamed they are. What
I
happened to
also
your
watched
home.
Angry
Before you-
Joe play through this part. It was hilarious. He did not do a good job. Like, he tried to go and flirt with some lady for this guy, but he kept drinking the drink at the beginning of the conversation, and I'm guessing he didn't know that debuffs him for charisma. Well,
even a part of the attack, and they still want to make amends. And suddenly that old mental image starts to crack. You start seeing them not as monsters, but as people. Mercenaries hired by a lord, providing for their families, caught in a war that wasn't their own. And then it hit me. The only reason why I saw them the way that I did in the first game was because that's what my limited perspective allowed. I was the son of a blacksmith from BFE Bohemia. I didn't live in Prague or Kuttenberg. I barely even knew my own neighbors, let alone anyone from another culture. It took weeks to travel, even months, if people even survived travel at all. Most people lived and died within a few miles of where they were born. Hell, Henry at the start of the game can't even read. But now in KCD2, I'm traveling more, I'm seeing more, meeting more people, and with every step, my world
that sounds amazing, man. I can't wait to finish the first game and then start this game. I like to finish the first game close to when I start this game, so whenever I get the Game Pass up for a month. I assume I might need more than 1 month of Game Pass if I'm also going to include this game and spend that much time in there. I don't know. I hope it's a beautiful month either way.
And people that you were once raised to hate, not because the game tells you to, but because it shows you their humanity. It leaves the judgment up to you. These days, there's a lot of games that want to teach you something, to deliver a message, to shift your perspective, to leave you with a takeaway, but too often, they treat the player like an issue that needs to be corrected. And the moment that you start treating your audience like a problem, you lose everything that makes storytelling powerful. Trust. KCD2 doesn't tell you what to think. It shows you why someone might think differently. It doesn't polarize. It humanizes. Take the way the game handles anti-Semitism.
That's
and
the way to
prejudice.
do it. You can't tell people what they're supposed to think like some people do Veilguard. You have to present them with multiple options, like New Vegas. Oh, New Vegas. All of the factions are right in some ways and wrong in some ways, and at no point does the game try to tell you which one is the correct way to go. It lets you decide for yourself. And that's why it's so impactful.
Gypsies living in the woods, they're outcasts, feared. Rumors are swirling about how they commune with the devil. The villagers want them gone. A simple misunderstanding, a romance between a local boy and a Roma girl turns violent. The tension isn't exaggerated, it's not cartoonish, it's subtle and deeply human. Later in the game, you go to visit the Jewish quarter in Gutenberg. These citizens were granted rights by King Wenceslas, yet they are still viewed with suspicion by a lot of people, including his own brother, the usurper, Sigismund. You see how they're mistreated. You see how they're targeted, and the game doesn't ever beat you over the head with it. There's no big speech, no forced redemption arc. It just lets you observe. It trusts you to pay attention and to come to your own conclusions. When you go to save them after Sigismund orders their homes raided, torched, and their people people killed, you're helping them because they're allies against Sigismund. And you're allowed to keep whatever your opinion of them is. And that's what makes it work. That's what makes it resonate. It's not a lecture, it's a lived experience. And the game never forgets you're supposed to feel it, not just play it. I try to do my best not to spoil too much of the game, but I had to bring up some really key points to
Yeah,
make sure that I drove my message
fair.
home and really
I also watched Joe play through that. He had a bit of a time with it.
communicated to you guys what my experience was like and how I contrast that
I
with
stopped watching shortly after that because I didn't want to get spoiled anything further into the game.
the games that I've seen over the last few years.
And
if
I
you
was
feel
kind of
spoiled,
playing
don't
games
worry,
while I was
because I'll be
watching it,
honest
so I
with
didn't
you,
get the
if you
full
don't
thing.
experience that stuff firsthand yourself, it's going to feel like the very first time regardless. And I highly recommend this game. Buy it, play it, support it, get your friends to play it. KCD 1 and 2, from my perspective, are just as significant as Baldur's Gate 3 or Elden Ring in its own way.
I have not
I
played
think it's
Baldur's
important
Gate
to take
3,
time
but
to
that's on the
appreciate
list.
games and talk about that appreciation, because by doing that, you better understand what you're not liking about certain games. I've been talking about this in my Discord, and I've talked about it in my live chat, but I'm trying to get people to get away from using like coined phrases, popular ones like woke, grifter, shit like that. And the reason why is because what ends up happening is that the more often we use phrases like that, the further away we get from actually describing what we don't like about what we're experiencing. And if you're not really describing it, then how are people ever
That's
gonna fix
fair.
anything?
That's
They're just gonna
fair.
write off what
If
you
you're
say.
taking the shortcut, nobody's really going to understand how you got there, like what your journey was.
People's brains turn off when they hear one of those keywords. And I just think it's completely unnecessary. It's something that we need to get away from. I'll be honest, Warhorse made 2 incredible games, but neither one of these games are really anything special. Like, they don't do anything unique, is the way that I should say it. Because they're just iterating on things that have already existed. But they did it in a way that was grounded. They did it in a way that, well, it's what players are looking for. It's what players actually want. And because of that, well, the message that they're trying to send, the experience they're trying to give is actually communicated. They achieved what their goal was. And they found a lot of success in doing so. Both games sold incredibly well. And that's great to see. I don't think that every game needs to have the same meaningful experience as a Kingdom Come Deliverance. Or a
Oh, it
Baldur's Gate
absolutely
3.
doesn't. We need a lot of games where you can just turn your brain off and have fun. We need more games where it's not that serious. Because if all games were that serious, it'd kind of be stressful. We need stupid games and funny games like Repo and Lethal Company and Phasmophobia, where like it's just dumb fun with your friends.
But I expect, especially the AAA side of this industry, to reach for it rather than my wallet or my vote. And that's what it's felt like over the last few years. And I'm getting sick and tired of it. And that's the reason why I talk about these kind of things. That's the reason why I bring up a lot of the topics that I do. I've seen a lot of comments recently that are like, why are you so negative? Do you even like video games? Why do you only criticize things? Why don't you review?
He's negative because he loves video games and he's tired of seeing them get hurt and getting hurt by them in return.
Games, things like that. One, reviews take me way longer than industry commentary, and it's not even close. But more than anything, I also don't like people saying those things. It's tone policing. I don't appreciate it. It's almost 9 out of 10 times it's a ban. I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm just going to get rid of you if I see that kind of shit. But I think it's important to criticize things because it helps others to understand what I'm actually looking for in games. And criticizing things is how we get better stuff. I'm personally more interested in failure because I find failure fascinating. I talked about this in a recent stream, but a lot of people are always fixated on what makes other people successful. They're always fixated on people's success. I don't care about your success. I care about how people fail because I feel like you can learn a lot more from failure than you can from success.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's just my opinion.
Because if you succeed, you're going to be like, well, I didn't do enough wrong for it to matter, so I'm just going to keep doing the thing that I was already doing. But if you fail, you need to examine how you got there. Give him a like and sub. He's very passionate and knowledgeable about games, and he can articulate them in ways that I don't feel I can quite accurately, because I frequently don't like a game, and then I can't quite put my finger on why or what it was that agitated me. So he really helps. He opens up the door. It's not always what I didn't like, but at least it can help lead me to what I wanted to say sometimes. Legendary drops, absolutely fantastic. Give him a like and sub. Give me a like and sub. Have a great day. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Leave a comment down below. What's your favorite comfort game? What game do you turn to when everything else sucks and you just want to play something you know for sure is good and is going to make you happy? I have a top 10 list for that. And I keep it on my Steam as my top 10 list. All right, peace out. Mwah.